Rush Hour Podcast. We're back again. TW, this is Justin. We're two tech tech guys, but we're not technical. So, we're on the business side, marketing side of things, but we've been through it all. IPOs, mergers, acquisitions, acquihires, failings, all of it. Wins, losses, we've kind of seen it all. And we're here to chat the latest. So today we're talking ChatGPT 5. I've got some experience with it. We'll compare it to 4 and to Grok. Frankly, if you haven't seen our Grok update, there's that. We've got Elon versus Apple. He's suing Apple. What is all that about? Justin's going to give us the latest. And then Perplexity tries to buy Google Chrome. Like what? Let's get the update on that, and we'll kick it off. Justin, I got a little story on this. How I compared Chat.
3, 2, 1, go!
GPT. What do you even call this thing?
Yeah,
GPT5?
it's so funny that you said it. I think it's GPT-5, and it's, I guess, it's versus like 4o or the other models. But quick aside before we jump into that. So I was listening to this podcast, Lenny's podcast, and he brought on the product manager for ChatGPT, and they were going through all these different stories of like kind of what got ChatGPT to this point. And the day before ChatGPT launched, they were going to call it like chat with GPT 3.5 or something like even crazier names. That's just all to say that like sometimes even if a name is kind of difficult to say, or you just like it's going to be worse before. Sometimes like you just capture lightning in a bottle and you go with it, and now it's called GPT or whatever else.
Crazy. Well, I'll start with my use case, which 2025, let's just say, has not been a good year for me on the medical side. My mom having issues. My daughter had like walking pneumonia. My son just had, went to the urgent care with some thing. I just had COVID. So this morning, I'm like, I'm going to compare the notes on 4 versus 5.
You're like collecting the like Thanos Infinity Stones.
Yeah, it's been a rough. Man, I need to ask ChatGPT what I'm doing wrong. I had COVID. That's why I'm back in my old house. I'm not with my mom. I'm going back tonight. But this morning, I'm like, all right, I'm feeling good. I'm gonna go for a walk. 5 minutes into my walk, walking by, an old lady and her 2 dogs. The dog bites me. Bites me on the calf.
What is happening?
Like what?
What is going on?
I was walking by. I already passed them, and the thing ran back
the dog
behind
came
me.
Back just to fight you.
And it came back and bit me in the calf, drew blood. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I know it's not it's not the owner's fault, but it's just like, come on, man, you got to be careful out here. Either put a muzzle. If you know your dog's capable of that, do something. Like,
right?
That could have been a child.
Yeah.
And then I'm on my walk back, it started bleeding, and I'm walking, and she's like, are you, I see her again on the other loop, and she's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, can you send me the rabies info and all that just in case? I'm going to get this thing checked out. She's like, absolutely. Let me know what you need. So I go home, I clean it up. I put it in ChatGPT-5, I take the pictures, I put it in. I'm like, what do you think, ChatGPT? What should I do? What are the steps? And ChatGPT-5 thinks for a little bit. And it gives me a laundry list of like, hey, here's what you got to do. You got to clean it. You got to find the rabies information. Here are the things to look out for an infection. Here's your chances of all of the like rabies was the biggest concern. So to make sure I got the rabies thing. And then I said, all right, now I'm going to go into ChatGPT 4 and do that. And it gave me a shorter, faster response, but generally it was the same. If I'm being honest, the one weird thing is when I put it in ChatGPT 4, it said, this is a clearer picture, which I thought was weird. It was the exact same photo I used for ChatGPT 5. But that was it. It came back with, hey, you've got to clean it up. You got to watch out for infection. You've got, make sure you have all the rabies information. Call the doctor if you see any of the following, which is like pus and redness and all of that. And then I did that. I told the doctor, I sent the picture, and the doctor was like, all right, well, unfortunately in California, you have to report it to animal control if you get a dog bite. So I had to do that. So they're like, if you don't do it, I have to do it. I'd prefer you to do it because you have all the info. So I was like, all right, fine. So I called animal control. I was like, hey, here's the deal. My neighbor, cute little dog, did whatever, bit me out of the blue, and just wanted to notify you, whatever. And they took all the information and they're like, all right, well, we'll notify, we'll interview them, we'll talk to them. I'm like, it's not a big deal. I think it's gonna be fine. Barely broke skin, a little bit of blood, I'll be all right. But I would like to be there when you put it down. No.
My God, bro.
No, I'm kidding. I was like, no, it'll be fine. I don't think they're gonna do anything. So we'll see. But like that was the difference in the two recent ones. Did not a ton, but again, that's not a like crazy use case for
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
So there really wasn't a difference, like because
Not
I know
really.
GPT-5 when they talk about it in I think the blog post that they released after, they said it has this thinking mode
Yes, it did. I
that,
tried that.
and so did it do that automatically
No,
for your first query? Okay, interesting.
it did. I put it on auto. I put it on ChatGPT 5 auto, and it
Yep.
gave me. I think it gave me like it thought a little longer, but it spat out the answer. And then when I went to do it in 4, it came back much quicker and shorter, but it was the general synopsis was the same on what to do. The
Yeah.
ChatGPT 5 was definitely more thorough, but it did take a little bit longer. And then I went to the thinking route, and that took a long time. And it spit out a lot more options and things and questions about like get the dog's rabies vaccination info, and make sure call your local authorities. That it just went a little more in depth. It just kept going.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing crazy. Not some
Yeah.
vast difference in response time in actual response that I can see. But again, I also tried it with my son when he had some symptoms, and it was pretty similar. It was like definitely it's faster on 4.0, like with a response, and maybe this because less people are on it at the time, or maybe 5 is new. But that was the same with Grok. When I did the Grok test, it was also way slower than ChatGPT 4.0. So
Hmm.
maybe a fair one would be 5 thinking versus Grok seemed to be similar, but didn't get any like hallucinations out of it at least.
Yeah, we need to do that on the next pod, is like to test those two head to head, the thinking versus
Yeah, I
Grok.
was thinking actually DeepSeek is one I wanted to try. I know that's China's model, so I have not played with that. So maybe I'll try that one next and see what kind of crazy
Yeah.
changes we see, if any. And like maybe for the everyday consumer, there's no real difference. But my question, oh, go ahead. Do you have a question?
I was just gonna say, like, I know the big piece of this launch was like, one, it was free, it was accessible for all tiers. Like they
Yes.
wanted to get out to everyone. That was one piece, and then the other was kind of the unified system architecture, where it will dynamically switch between kind of the fast response model and the thinking model, and just kind of do
Yes.
that. And I was excited about that because I was like, sometimes I just don't know which model to use. Like,
Right.
I was kind of using O3 for deeper thinking, 4.0 for most other prompts. But actually, after having GPT-5, I was like, I kind of like going back to switching between the models. I like being able to be on the driver's seat a
Yeah.
bit more. I thought that I would like just letting the model do whatever it wanted, but I actually like having more control, interestingly enough. So I guess I have to just use it more and see what my
Yeah.
ultimate
I was gonna
decision is.
ask you. I mean, I watched the launch of GPT-5 on YouTube, and it was like
Yeah.
it had some. Maybe this is a new product marketing style, which is basically biting off Apple and their presentation style, where it's like this. Steve Jobs comes up and says, "Here's the thing," and he introduces people and they introduce features. Looked like Chat GPT-5 had that similar vibe. I don't know if you saw it,
Yeah.
but Sam Altman came out. They brought some product manager that had some thick accent that was talking about the changes, and they were doing like a Q&A, and it just kind of had this vibe of Apple. But what was missing was like Apple has slick hardware and has like a
Yeah.
brand and a store and a feel, whereas this doesn't. Like it just to me, it felt like okay, they're just doing this to be like Apple. I don't,
To
I
be
don't,
like
I didn't really
aesthetic.
understand, right? Because I'm like, you're
Yeah.
explaining a software in a style that like makes me think you're unveiling a new hardware, but you're not.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is your take on why they're
So
doing that?
my general take is that kind of almost theatrical video style content has become more ubiquitous on all channels in the context of product launches, and it's like a style now that
Yeah,
people use. So I think it's a combination of them trying to elevate what the brand means and wanting to be talked about within the same context of like an Apple. But I also think it's just a hack is probably not, that's almost kind of trite, but like it's something that a lot of companies are using to introduce new products because average consumer is still not used to seeing products launched like that. So
yeah,
it makes it more intriguing. When it makes it more intriguing, you get more not only more eyeballs, but more engagement, more shares, et cetera. And it helps with distribution. And we talk about this all the time. Anything that you can do to kind of to help to make you feel kind of like more dynamic amongst the crowd of other products and services, cut through the noise, is a tactic that you should be doing now, because
Right.
it's so hard to get consumer attention. So I think that that's part of it as well. Like the overproduced, very Apple vibey stuff is, hey, how do we try to get some eyeballs on this so people are like, oh, this feels like a movie and not
Yeah.
like a product release.
And there is something to, I guess Tesla also similarly. Elon comes on now and does his little roadshow with every product release. And there's some tidbits there that's also very, very Apple vibes. But it seems like this is a great way to launch your product organically with people who are very familiar with the product. I assume they are. Maybe they aren't. Maybe it's for show. I don't know. But it seems like people that are really familiar get the credit. They get to come out and speak with it. And from a company standpoint, it's like, I don't need to hire influencers. I don't need a big budget to do a product launch. I just do it organically on my own YouTube and my own website. It seems like a great way, but I will say it's not as captivating for me. Like the Apples, I remember like hanging on the edge of my seat for like, when's the new Apple coming out? When's the new iPhone? When's the new iPod? When's the new iMac? Or what are the features? Like
Yeah.
all of that. Like ChatGPT5, I'm not waiting on the edge of my seat for like what features are coming out in that. Like,
Yeah. But let me push you on that, because I feel like maybe that was like a product of a bygone era around
yeah,
product launches where you just weren't as inundated with content. I
right.
mean, now every 8 minutes you're some Instagram reel. It's like so much content is video based
Yeah,
that I think it's hard to kind of have that just one big moment unless you have an outsized personality attached to it. And like, let's say that, Steve Jobs is still around. I think his ability based off of what he's delivered to the ecosystem and Everest can still captivate people so much that it can just have you on the edge of your seat for what he has to say. But I think the production value, all those other things, people are just used to seeing pretty great content all the time. That
yeah,
I'm just talking about, like kind of the visual element. For me, it would be hard to make me really kind of get excited about
yeah,
that piece. But yeah, it's a
yeah.
little different take there.
It is like the wave of the future for a lot of these companies. Google's tried. I know they do their Google I/O and all
Yep.
those little presentations for launches, but they don't. Nothing hits like Steve Jobs and Apple used to. Elon's pretty close, I guess, when he did like the iRobot thing. That was a big deal. But the Ivy and Altman sitting together and talking about the future of a product, that was kind of cool. But
Yeah.
again, we'll see. Maybe when they launch that whatever you
New
call
product.
it, yeah, it'll make more sense for hardware. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I could get pretty excited about that. I could
yeah.
get excited about them launching some new piece of hardware based off of like Jony Ive and his time at Apple, and like bringing that design capability to all the momentum that OpenAI has had with their products. So that
So
could
here's
be
my question to you:
interesting.
How would you,
Yeah,
if you were not, let's say not ChatGPT, but if you were had some massive product that you were rolling out, how would
yeah.
you roll that out to the public? Let's say if you were competing AI or competing thing, like what would you think in today's you know attention deficit disorder climate? How would you launch a product? Like, what do you think is the most efficient way to do it?
I mean, so let me push back. So is this, you're launching it from, you're a company who has some type of brand and has launched products in the past? Is this a startup? Like, help me narrow down
How about the
where they are in the
next
journey.
chat?
Yeah.
If you were to say GPT is coming, got some really cool features, how would you decide you're going to launch that for OpenAI?
Yeah. I think that it would be probably pretty similar to what they're doing now. But I think one thing that OpenAI could be doing a bit better is to open up the conversation a bit more to cultural icons and influencers outside of the tech world, right? So,
Yeah,
like, when I think of other content that I think is really interesting, where, LeBron had that kind of barber talk shop type of format, right? So imagine it's Sam Altman, but then it's him, it's LeBron, it's Serena Williams, some like it's some popular newscaster like Anderson Cooper, et cetera, and a bit more of a mix of people from outside of tech, maybe with the product managers as well, but having a conversation about it to kind of pull it more to the masses, because I
yeah,
still feel like, even though we got 700 million weekly active users, the
right.
product is killing it. But I think in terms of the way that the product is talked about, in terms of the type of conversations, in terms of the dialogue that could go beyond the kind of research piece and more technical intellectual elements and more about like how does it actually play into a use case that can impact people's day to day. I think you can pull that in via different personas than what we're seeing now. I think
Yeah.
that could be compelling because other like channel setup, they're getting tremendous amount of views, et cetera. I think it's about bringing in different perspectives within that launch moment that can make it a more powerful cultural moment that's kind of like lives outside of just the tech ecosystem,
Yeah.
if that
That
makes
makes
sense.
sense. Yeah, to
What about
me,
you? I'm gonna throw it back at you.
I mean, my thought was like the people we always talk about this. Younger people are just much better at using these tools.
Yeah.
I would love to see them do like, like you said, into the mix a little more with I'm just thinking like I Show Speed, Kai Cenat, like those streamers that are on all
Yeah,
day,
yeah,
that younger demo that you really hit,
yeah,
having Sam Altman go on there, having a product manager go on there and actually use it with them and talk about AI and do these things and be out in the world with it as an
yeah,
example. And then the Clippers will do their thing. And I feel like that would open
yeah,
up such an audience that is not necessarily Apple, but
yeah,
probably barely remembers Apple.
yeah,
Like, because the way it's happening now, it seems like it's going older tech. People that are are established, looking at this and curious about the technology,
yeah.
and we'll do
Still
a
very
deep
early
dive.
adopter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not as I can't imagine a kid who's used to watching Fortnite and Call of Duty and 2K and all of these things, all like you said, all these things that are like, really hitting on all the dopamine,
yeah,
being engaged with a Sam Altman and product manager presentation. Like I just don't see it. So
yeah,
I would think you probably want to do that, but also do the other thing, which is like give real life examples, put these people in scenarios where they use it and showcase it and get all the clips because 8-hour stream using ChatGPT 5, they're going to get a lot of great clips out of that, is my
yeah.
guess. That'll probably go viral, but again, it could go sideways too. But that's how I would do it.
No, I think that's really cool. And to even to build on anymore, right? We got our marketing kind of like juices flowing and stuff. That hopefully this is somewhat interesting for the viewers. But I almost think of like a college tour could be kind of cool
Yeah,
too, where you're like launching these products at like not just kind of the Ivy League places that you would expect at the Stanfords, but having one of the launches at University of Alabama or something
yeah,
like that, like with the
yeah.
student body asking questions and standing up there and just being in these different formats so that like the younger generation kind of feels a bit closer to the product. But
You just want to hear a
yeah.
Southern accent talk about AI. That's really where you're trying to go.
Well,
So
that's why I like listening to you talk about AI, though you're not crazy in the
close,
draw, but it's
close.
close.
Getting there. Yeah, yeah, that would be cool. Seeing it in real life every day. I think that would be fun. Like you said, yeah, not going the Harvard MIT route and hitting on some more. I don't want to say everyday people. Like getting into where they see content and then driving. That feels like where we're going with the next level.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna do Apple and Tesla, those are high end, very well off customers. Whereas ChatGPT is for everyone. It should probably go, start where you're gonna get most of your business. But that's
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
In fairness, quick asterisk, Sam Altman was on like a Theo Vaughn podcast,
Yes, I
and
saw that.
so he like I think they're starting to tap a bit more into that, these opportunities to kind of get distribution to folks who kind of aren't early tech adopter folks. So I feel like they're leaning into it, but I guess our TLDR would be they should do that more. They should
Yeah.
do that more and more.
And then let's go on to the next, right on cue with what we were talking about. Elon and
Yeah.
Apple. Elon is actually suing Apple. I sent you a little like clip on this earlier.
Yeah.
Why don't you break it down for people that probably don't know what's happening?
Okay, so if you're not as like day to day tapped into what's going on in the tech world and billionaires squabbling it out, and we're happy to do that for you, right? So here's kind of the latest on Elon and Apple. So Musk is right now threatening to sue Apple, alleging unfair practices by the business in how Apple treats ChatGPT in the App Store, while it says it's like suppressing competitors like XAI's Grok. So in an X post, Elon said, Apple has been behaving in a manner that makes it impossible for any AI company besides OpenAI to reach number one. And he's calling it a unequivocal antitrust violation. So like right now, Grok ranks number 6 in the US App Store for top free apps. ChatGPT sits at number 1. And because of that, Musk is like, hey, that's algorithmic favoritism. I don't like that. And Apple in their editorial curation, they talk a lot about OpenAI and ChatGPT and products. And basically what Musk is suggesting is that is bias. There's like a bias going on against XAI, and frankly, and the insinuation is other products. Well, and this isn't right, and they have a kind of unfair means of distribution, and so there was like a whole kerfuffle around this recently with with Elon kind of doing a whole thread around why he thought Apple was being unfair, and it's interesting just to kind of jump into it. I think it's interesting to hear him say this when he kind of owns a platform like X, where clearly if you spend more than 8 seconds on there, it's all the stuff that has 30, 40, 50 million views is his content, whether it's
Yeah.
like good or not. So you
Right.
could also say that that's like a huge loudspeaker for the world in terms of what content and concepts get picked up.
Right.
And this may just be him kind of doing a marketing play of like inserting himself into the conversation around the time of launch, which again would be pretty smart tactic to do. But what do you think? Do you think it's unfair practice? Do you think Musk is just being sore? Or
No, I think he's got a real good point because the algorithm for Apple, me and we've tried to get apps on the top. There's a little weird hack. It's kind of like getting on Netflix's top 10. There are hacks that are, quietly true or not what people do to try to get to the top, which is, kind of almost like cooking the numbers a little bit to try to trick the algorithm into being number one. So there's some truth to that, I think. I mean, Google was the same. People used to think, oh, they're SEO. They're able to surface all of their own companies in SEO, and this is part of why owning the platform is so important, because the algorithm that they use is their own proprietary. I mean, it is a private
yeah,
algorithm. It's not. I mean, they can publicize it, but in the code, it's a different thing, right? Like,
say the same thing about Amazon
yeah,
and all the products you buy in there in terms of like Amazon
right,
products against their competitors in the same
yeah.
category and getting all that data and making white label products.
Yeah, it's kind of what we talked about. This is why it's really hard to break into the everyday consumer, because of these walls that are up, these garden walls that are put up like this. Like, you want to be number one in the Apple App Store, you gotta work with Apple. Like, you need to understand how this thing works. Like, it's not just about having an incredible product. You need that. That's like table stakes. But you also need to work with your partners on the platform level, whether that's
Yeah.
Google or Apple or whoever, Oculus or X or Facebook. Like, there's so many now, but those five really hold the key probably to your growth unlocking, or at least it feels like they do, right? More than anything, because you're right, like, hey, why aren't I number one on YouTube and I'm not number one over here, or whatever it is, right? It always feels like some algorithm is against you, where it may be true or may not. It's really hard to tell from where we stand. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
agree? Or
No, I definitely agree. And I feel like just kind of building on that, we're also in this regulatory environment right now where the government ain't gonna come and save you and do antitrust stuff. So
right?
however you can, and all these tech companies, they understand that fully. So they are going full bore, whatever advantage I can have against my competitors, whatever channel or tactic I can take, Musk included, people are going after that. So I think it's not necessarily great for competition, but what it does mean is it's just a reality. And so it's like, how do you tap into that? How do you think about partnerships? How do you think about opportunities to get more eyeballs on your product? And that's always been the case, but it's even less restricted now
Right.
than it's been in a long time. Maybe since I mean, you probably know these days better than me on the lifecycle marketing side, but like where LinkedIn back in the day used to do kind of all that crazy scraping email,
Yep.
related stuff. I mean, there's always been a time when people are using these similar type of tactics.
Yeah, there's always a leg up. If you're on the bleeding edge, you might catch a little growth arbitrage and be able to capture some algorithm. But like, to stay on top of that is a real grind. Like, you need to be really, really on top of your stuff. And if you have a great product, usually it speaks for itself. But yeah, we'll see. This is going to be an interesting one. Like, how does Apple respond? That's kind of like Fortnite and Apple too, when Fortnite stepped up and said, we're not
Mhm.
we're not dealing with this. This is unfair. I wonder what's going to happen out of this. We'll see. The algorithm will need to change, or it'll be more transparent with some of the features, but we'll see. All right, last topic.
Yeah.
Perplexity tries to buy Chrome. What? Like, explain to
Yeah.
me. I don't know a lot about this one. I'm excited to hear about
Yeah.
it.
So just a little context setting. So like we talk about antitrust, we talk about these tech billionaires squabbling with each other and trying to talk about fairness, et cetera. So there's been a case that's been happening for a while that's with the DOJ now, which is about like, government pushing to like break Google up in some way, splitting up Chrome, splitting up a couple other businesses. And as a part of that, Perplexity a few days ago made a $34 billion unsolicited offer to buy Google Chrome's web browser.
Wow.
And so they're trying to do this right ahead of an antitrust ruling. And so the offer itself, like, there was a lot of headlines, Wall Street Journal articles, et cetera, written about it, about this offer. And, the CEO of Perplexity, Arvin, was, talking about, I could pull together a syndicate to do the deal. The company Perplexity, just by the way, is only worth $18 billion. So they couldn't necessarily just do the deal themselves. They'd have to bring together a bunch of folks. But he framed this as a move of public interest and, positioning Perplexity as an independent operator, ready to run Chrome, ready to kind of like take this business in something that Google has said, hey, if someone else acquired this business, it would just kind of fall apart, et cetera. Well, this is a player who hypothetically could come in and acquire the business and run with it and create another great product out of Google Chrome. And so, the big story was kind of around this headline. But for me, what I found the most interesting is I think you have like a few kind of CEO founder types who are really, really good at embedding themselves in cultural moments and in conversations or things are kind of important going on. I'll put obviously Arvin in that. Roy Lee from Cluely, if you're familiar with that product, it's like all over Twitter. There's another founder, Nathaniel Johnson from Series. You should look all these folks up. But what they're really good at doing is like controlling a narrative and a conversation around whatever topic is being discussed. And they have such a outsized personality and brand that they're able to get a tremendous amount of eyeballs and distribution on it. And it's such a huge and like important tactic to kind of drive distribution that it's worth leaning into right now. Like if you have some proclivity towards being able to put yourself out there, have a unique perspective, willing to be consistent, this is still there's still a window right now. I don't know how long it will be open in this way, but for kind of founder-led content, storytelling to kind of drive growth, that seems to really be working. I just thought it was interesting within that context.
That's similar to what we were talking about earlier with like Sam Altman doing in OpenAI having their own YouTube channel and launching product that way. It's similar, right? It's with these founders building their own brand and then turning around and having interjecting it into everyday conversations. It's really smart. It's also pretty risky. I mean, it goes both ways, right?
Yeah, I think there's like some brand safety elements and like conversations going left. But I think ultimately, if you can build enough of a community and a brand around yourself that you can always insert yourself into a conversation and have some chance of it getting picked up, that's like the most valuable resource that you can have. Because regardless of the company that you're at or what you're building, like that, the leverage that you get from that community is worth millions and maybe billions of dollars. And here's a direct example of that that may resonate with your understanding. When ChatGPT launched, like, I don't know how you found out about it, but I just found out about it from Sam Altman's Twitter account that I've been following for some time. It's like, hey, check this out, ChatGPT. We're really proud of it. We think it's really great. And then like, because he has such a large community, because he has such an impactful voice, because he's put himself out there and build this personal brand, is able to kind of like light the spark that then grew. Was also an incredible product, right? Like you're not going to get that kind of resonance unless the product is amazing as well. But if you got a great brand and a product, you're cooking with gas, man. I mean, marketing is just gas on the fire of product market fit. So if you have that, then you really, really have everything. So I think it's like a testament to that ability to build an audience.
Yeah, I think a lot of Silicon Valley back in the day was always like, you don't need marketing, you just need great product. If you have great product, it's really easy. And some of that is true, but now I think today to break through, you need good branding and marketing on top of you can't just have a great product, because just a great product, no one's going to find it in the climate that we are today 100%. With where attention is going. It's really hard to capture the minds of you have the greatest product. If it's a new app and it doesn't have the great hooks and doesn't get buzz, no one's going to find it, which is sad.
Because it's so hard to cut
through the noise.
To cut through the noise. So I feel like, to your point, you need to have great product, you need to have great content, and you got to have great distribution. Like it's never been easier to launch something and get eyeballs, and it's never been harder as well to like break through. Let the games begin.
I mean, they say AI is coming to take over all these things, but there's so much evolving. It's hard to imagine a world where AI just does all of this, because it's evolving in a way that just requires people and
Yeah.
unfortunately their eyeballs and their brains, and where we're going, it's unclear. So it
Yeah.
seems like it's going to be really tough for AI to always come out and just develop everything. Like, I don't know what marketing looks like in 5-10 years, and how we're going to get there. It's really, nobody knows.
No.
Anybody who says they know is guessing. So we're definitely approaching a time where it's just a lot of testing and a lot of figuring it out. A lot of people are going to be humbled here in the
Yeah.
next like 5-10 years. Wouldn't you say?
I think and I think you would agree with this, whether it's been AI or any other way, mobile, internet, etc. And you probably have a bit like longer term perspective on this than me, but I think that you have to stay curious. Yeah, we talk about this all the time. You have to stay curious. You have to keep learning. You have to keep experimenting, because if you're not doing that, then you're going to get
Tough.
left behind, or
Yeah.
you won't be able to kind of figure out trends and things
Yep.
that are going to be impactful. And ultimately, I think that's the reason why you and I have been able to kind of like navigate these different changes in our careers, because we're humble
Yeah.
about what we know and what we don't know, and willing to
Right.
experiment and continue to learn. And that's going to take you really far.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, being the person that's always curious and trying to figure things out is very helpful right now, right? If you thought, "Oh, I've got all the answers," it's ads and Facebook ads and
You
that
don't
whole
got the
world.
answers,
Yeah,
Sway. You don't got the answers.
it's not going to work, man. Today is very different, but yeah, it'll be fun to figure this thing out as we walk through this next. Every day is something new. It's wild. I'm glad
Yeah.
we're doing this. It keeps us on our toes in terms of things that are coming, things that are changing. I'm excited to see what's next.
This is the highlight of my week when we
Yeah,
do
for
it.
sure. For sure. Well, if you have any comments, feedback, lay it below. We got some great feedback. Actually, Justin got some great feedback on things we should do, things we don't. We're gonna throw it into ChatGPT 5 and try to like formulate our next plan with the podcast and what's next. I know Spotify was something that came up. Like,
Yeah.
a bunch of people said, "Oh, I listen on Spotify and it stopped working." So we're gonna go figure that out. The update apparently didn't work. So apologies. We'll try to make sure to get this one on Spotify. We'll do some more edits. We heard, especially with the intro, we heard a couple of people say, "I'm confused when you throw the intros."
Yeah.
Maybe we'll play around with that. What do you think?
All those things. And I want to give a special shout out to Matthew Smith, who saw one of our ads on the BART
Yep.
back in 2024. He's a data scientist in SF. Huge shout out to you. He gave us some tremendous feedback. Reached out to me on LinkedIn yesterday. I'm so appreciative of you reaching out, Matthew. Thanks for being such a fan of the pod, and we'll continue to try to get better. Hopefully, you continue to get some insights that are helpful.
Yeah, and we did. We're gonna have the Bart Upfront Media come on and talk about that next week. That'll be cool. We'll get we had a little chat with them about the media, the buy, the how it went, and all of that. So we'll publish that one too next week. We're recording, and hopefully we'll get that out to you for those people that are like, how do you do ads? How do you do bar? How do you think about it? What's next? We'll get those answers straight from those that are selling the ads and providing a platform for the ads. So that'll be a great one.
Super excited about that.
All right, man. Have a good rest of the week.
You too. Later.